Just because I smile or laugh doesn't mean that it's not serious. It's
That's a
just when
good
I'm
disclaimer. Yeah.
angry,
Yeah.
when angry, frustrated, stressed, that's my, like, that's what I just tend to do.
Yeah.
Laugh through the pain.
This is MIA 2K Podcast, and we are your ticket from Miami to Seoul. We are your pilots, Kathy and Laura, two fun-seeking girls with obsessive fandom tendencies, taking you on a ride through the Hallyu wave from our perspective as opinionated, grown Latina fans from Miami.
Before we close the cabin doors, make sure you're following us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you like to watch, our in-flight podcast video is available on YouTube and Spotify.
Once we reach our cruising altitude, we'll be serving one thing and one thing only, piping hot tea. We're ready to fly into today's topic with our hot and sunny takes.
So fasten your seatbelts, sit back, relax, and prepare for takeoff.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Today, we're going to be covering a topic that's a little controversial. We're going to talk about idols who have left their groups. We will specifically focus on 3 idols, the reasons why they left, and our opinion about it. And we have one more bonus idol at the very end.
Yes. Please remember that a lot of the stories and accusations have not been proven true. And please do take everything we say, and I mean everything, with a grain of salt. We did try our best to research the topics, but we are just 2 girlies without a team or money. Unless the stories and scandals have been proven true by a court of law, everything that we say in this episode is alleged, hearsay, gossip, or just chisme, And just remember that our podcast aim is always to provide entertainment with a side of facts, and we focus mostly on our opinions for you guys' enjoyment.
So without further ado, let's jump into today's figures. We will be covering BI, formerly of iKON, Wonho, formerly of Monsta X, Soojin, formerly of I-DLE, and Rocky, formerly of Astro. Let's start with BI.
Let's.
Okay, so with BI, as we mentioned, he was formerly of iKON, a member of iKON. He left the company and the group because of a drug scandal that he was involved in 2016. So just to give a little bit of context, BI was the leader of boy group iKON. They debuted in 2015 under YG Entertainment. In 2016, just a year after their debut, iKON had their Japanese debut as well as their first Asian tour. So they were like going up.
Popping off.
Yeah. BI was being touted as the next G-Dragon. Like, that's a big deal. If you know a little bit about K-pop, G-Dragon is a big fucking deal.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in 2016, BI was 19 years old.
Noted.
Please. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit into the timeline of events of what happened and how we got to where we got. So it all started in 2019, 3 years after his alleged drug use. On June 11, Dispatch releases a report alleging BI using and purchasing drugs in 2016. The report states that drug dealer A was arrested in 2016, where her cell phone was confiscated and messages were uncovered, where there's an interchange or an exchange between her and BI about drugs. No actions were taken against BI at that moment, like in 2016. A initially said that she delivered 10 LSD pills to BI to his dorm. Later, within 2016, while she was still like going through this process, she recanted her testimony and said that actually didn't happen. Dispatch alleged that between her first account saying that BI had gotten the drugs and her recanting her testimony, YG Entertainment contacted her and basically told her, you're lying, and that's what you're going to tell the police. So This all comes out. YG says this is all false. We actually test our idols every 2 months, and BI has not had a positive drug test, right? Exactly the next day, literally the next day, June 12th, BI leaves iKON and admits to trying to buy drugs, but says he actually never went through with it. YG terminates his contract and removes him from their website. Like, he went from being the next G-Dragon to not even existing within the span of 24 hours.
That's crazy. And especially being the leader of the group, because
Yeah.
losing a member is hard, in any given capacity. But I don't think, especially for us in the West, we see the Backstreet Boys, we saw NSYNC and stuff. There might be a member that's more popular, more prominent or whatever, but there was never an established leader or, One Direction either. And we know from all the things that we have investigated, covered, talked about, seen, that the leader actually has a really important role. And they are supposed to mediate between the members and the company and make sure that things are enforced and done and whatever. So for iKON to just lose their leader after a day of just
literally
like allegations is pretty fucking crazy. Like, poor guys.
Yeah. So then exactly the next day, this was a whirlwind of events. Like, it happened one thing after the other.
Wow.
So on June 13, A is revealed to be Han So-hee, which was Top's alleged ex-girlfriend. Dispatch releases an article breaking down exactly what happened after she was arrested in 2016. Basically, to summarize, YG forcibly requested So-hee to recount her story, offered her money, and basically told her, look, you can say he did whatever, but in the end, we have a way for our artists to test negative, and who are they going to believe, you or us? Basically. At this point, not only is BI thrown into the mix and Top by association with his ex-girlfriend, but also Sunghoon from Winner is like thrown in there. In the dispatch report, basically Sunghoon is used as like a lure to get So-hee to basically go to the YG entertainment building and meet up with them. Obviously, during all of this craziness, and as soon as her name was thrown out there, reporters reached out to her, and she indirectly said that the reason she took back her statement is exactly what everyone is thinking. She didn't really say that it was because YG asked her to, but she kind of was like, why are you asking something so obvious? On June 14th, exactly 3 days after all of this came to light, YG the man resigns from all of his positions at YG Entertainment. Keep in mind, 2019 was not just BI scandal drug year, but it was also Burning Sun. So at this point, YG isn't just being thrown into BI's drug scandal. He has also had to deal with the Burning Sun scandal, which is like disgusting, right? So come September 2019, BI admits to some of the drug charges, basically smoking weed, and police reopen the investigation. For anyone who is trying to do math, for South Korea, the statute of limitations for drug-related things is 7 years. So this was just 3 years after his drug use, so it was still within the time that he could be convicted for whatever.
Right.
So he admits to that. In February of 2020, YG, the man, is prosecuted as new evidence of bribery and threats comes up. BI tests negative for drugs, but the prosecution continues forward just based on the fact that he admitted to some of the charges back in September of the year before. Fast forward to June 2021, YG is charged with trying to cover up his artist's use of drugs. In August of 2021, the trial for BI starts, and the prosecution requests 3 years in prison plus fines for BI drug use. In the end, BI is sentenced to 4 years probation, 80 hours of community service, and 40 hours of medical treatment, basically like a DARE, like a drugs are bad kind of program or whatever. And he had to pay about $1,200 in fines. So that's kind of like the whole timeline of BI's drug scandals. One thing that I wanted to mention was in June 2022, about 3 years since this all started going on, 3 of iKON's members publicly talked about it. It was Bobby, Junhae, and Donghyuk. They go on this TV show and
they try to kind of talk about the issue a little bit more openly than in other shows or in other things, like how usually they don't even talk about it ever.
Right.
So this show kind of tries to skirt over some things and a little bit more controversial, just like deep topics, I guess.
Because there's like a psychologist that's also involved and like tries to get advice or whatever on TV. And aside from that, in 2023, in September of 2023, Bobby directly responds to fans' comments on BI through his Instagram comments. There's like a whole summary for anybody that's interested that we can link. Basically, what bothers me about BI's situation is that they destroyed the work that he put in for 4 years as iKON's leader, as iKON's music maker, and destroyed it over something he did when he was 19. Not only did they terminated his contract over alleged drug use, but they also, a lot of Korean websites completely removed him from any iKON like discography. So under his artist profile, the only thing that showed up was the stuff he did before iKON or anything solo, which is a song or two, because his main focus was iKON.
Yeah.
So they literally robbed him of all the hard work and the reason why he found himself in such a dark hole that he chose to seek refuge in drugs. You get what I mean? Like,
right. Like he didn't even do something that harmed anyone else. And for the punishment or the reaction or anything, it's just clearly disproportionate the way that YG takes action because yeah, okay, they did try to protect him in the wrong way, by the way.
right.
But also, where was that energy when Park Bom got accused of
Right.
smuggling drugs into the country when she was just bringing Adderall pills? And then all the protection that got thrown the way of the Burning Sun scandal, particularly Sunglee, like, make it make sense.
Yeah. G-Dragon himself in 2011 tested positive for weed and nothing really happened. All that happened was he took a short hiatus and is still considered a great artist because personally, I don't think that should matter. Like,
Yeah.
I know in the West, we have very different idea of drugs and the relationship to artists.
Yeah.
We actually have glorified drug use.
Yeah.
for artists here. And for weed specifically, a lot of states in the United States don't even consider that an illegal substance anymore.
Right.
So the fact that someone can potentially lose the whole career for trying weed, they don't even say how many times.
Right.
It appears from all the research that I did that it was just once, at least, that he admitted to. For once, 3 years before is insane to me. Like, wild. Insane to me.
Meanwhile, over here in like 2007 or in the early 2000s, we were listening to Lil Wayne light up a joint as like his producer tag in music. Like it's like you're saying, it's so glorified, it's so normalized, it's so at this point pedestrian to talk about drug use when it comes to artists. And yeah, this punishment is like gnarly. And especially this whole conversation right now with G-Dragon's recent brush with the police over the accusations of him doing drugs and all of that. It's a lot. Like, it doesn't seem like there's been any growth, especially because it turned out that the police decided to accuse him and investigate him over one person saying something that wasn't confirmed or anything. And it clearly seems like this is all like controversy that was stirred up to cover up the government's endless, I don't want to call them ineptitudes because allegedly, but their lack of proficiency, I guess we'll say.
BI was the first YG idol to have their contract terminated for drugs, whether it was alleged or like true. Like when we did our episode on YG a couple of months ago for our season 3, the aftermath of how they treated Sungli with what he did, which was absolutely disgusting, and he's not even a human being, compared to what BI, like, it makes no sense, and it makes me so fucking angry.
No, like, Sungli deserves a different, like, plot of hell to himself. Recently, and I know you haven't watched this on purpose because you're staying away from this, but I just want to mention one specific thing. Laura's a big fan of a podcast called Rotten Mango, where this girl covers crimes mostly in Asia, a lot of them in Korea, and it's just very evident in the way that she covers these cases, just how twisted culture is in the way that decisions are made and stuff. And so she just did an update to Sungli's case because he is causing shit right now. Like, he is adding brand new pages to his portfolio of fuckery, which is insane to me. Just, this man serving 18 months is nothing. Like, I will never get over his lack of accepting, nothing this man. And it's not like, other idols that say like, oh, reflection and I've thought about it or whatever, and I'm gonna do better. Like, this man does not give a fuck. He is evil. He is terrible. This is not alleged. This is a fucking fact. I'm gonna, like, literally, I will die on this hill. And anyway, right now, apparently, the shit that he's causing and the shit that he's doing seemingly could be, allegedly, potentially, because if he were to come back, right, he wants these newer scandals that are not that bad to cover the traces of Burning Sun. Okay? This is what is being said right now about Sungli. So just pardon me when I say fuck everything and everyone, because wow.
That's another thing that pisses me the fuck off. The fact that BI is being vilified, and he has to still to this fucking day say he's sorry for something he did ages ago when he was a child, because when you're 19, you're a fucking child. I don't care.
Yeah. And again, something that didn't hurt anyone else, like
just himself. And the way he was vilified and like made to be this demon for something he did, while other artists who have done the same thing, people aren't bringing anything back. Like, I understand that something bigger came out of his drug allegations, which is, YG being accused and later proven guilty of bribery and like whatever. But that has nothing to do with him. I understand YG did it to protect him, but no, they did it to protect the company, not BI.
Agreed.
The company. Because when the scandal broke out about BI, YG stocks went significantly down.
Of course they did.
The fact that BI felt guilty, so guilty, that instead of just keeping his mouth shut, he went and said, yeah, I did bad. I'm sorry about it, proves that this had been eating at his heart for many years, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So it also shows that, to me, I don't think he went up to YG and was like, hey, can you like
get these people off my back?
Like, this is something YG Entertainment did for themselves and not for BI. So if people are trying to say, well, it was just more than like a drug scandal, fuck you, no, it wasn't. So the reason why we wanted to cover this particular topic is because recently BI and iKON were part of the same music festival in Bangkok. And there's this video going around when all the artists are on the stage. And at this point, some of them have already walked out. And so BI is already on the stage and he's looking back as iKON is coming into to join the rest of the artist. And literally our hearts break every time we see this video.
Laura has sent me like 5 of the renditions of the video from different angles. Like she wants me to catch it in 4K and I just don't. I don't
can't
want to
suffer
see
alone.
this. I can't see this. Like, guys, I don't like the pain in his eyes, like the suffering, the longing, the expression of like a sorry pup kind of thing. And then the members just kind of walk and kind of a couple of them throw like a look over his way and then kind of look away. And it's just so painful to watch.
And it's painful because literally K-pop idols can't do anything without being harassed, without being
scrutinized.
When the 3 iKON members did that show in 2022 and openly talked about it, they were criticized for openly talking about it.
Yeah.
And literally all they said was they were talking about their own feelings during the time. They didn't really say anything that was controversial. They literally just talked about their own perspective and how that was a really hard time for them as people and as a group. So even when they're trying to be open and be people and share a little bit more about themselves with our fans, people still criticize them. So I think they had no choice but to not look at him, because if they did, God knows what would have happened.
Listen, apparently watching an anime now makes you a predator. So I don't know. I don't know what would happen if they actually looked at someone who did drugs. They would become immediate drug dealers, I guess.
When Bobby made his comments on Instagram, we went like crazy because it's a big deal. Like
it is.
They did go on this show the year before and talked about it. Bobby did, but the things he said in the comments were like no bar, like he
no
just,
filter kind of thing. Yeah,
like he just said what he wanted to say.
Yeah.
And to me, it seemed like he felt betrayed, not because of what BI did, like doing drugs, but more of the fact that he left. And it seems like he left without telling them that he was going to leave.
Right.
So they kind of found out, it seems, with the rest of the public. So I think that feeling of betrayal of like, hey, maybe we could have done something together.
Right.
We could have come to the decision together, was what made them feel like they were betrayed.
Makes sense.
It like when I reread it for this episode, that's what I got from his words.
Yeah.
They just felt abandoned. And it seems like BI's role as a leader was very, very, very big. Aside from being their music, in the sense that kind of like Woozy is for 17, he also took the role of leader like very seriously.
For sure.
So the members were not just feeling abandoned by somebody they might have looked up to, but also they were wondering what was going to happen to them if BI leaving would mean the end of iKON and their careers, maybe, because K-pop is weird.
Yeah.
And anything can end your career. So in conclusion, fuck everyone. Stan BI. That's that.
Yeah. Buy his light stick and let it vibrate all over you.
I'm literally laughing, but I have not been so pissed off in my life. Or I have, but like not recently, about something that didn't even happen to me.
Yeah, the injustice of it all.
Speaking of injustices, from one injustice to what we think is another injustice. So the next idol that we wanted to cover is Wonho from Monsta X. we have a little bit more, not a little bit, we have a lot of a relationship with Monsta X in the sense that we both consider ourselves Mon Bebe.
Yeah.
Obviously not from like 2015 because
Right.
we just got into K-pop in 2020.
Correct.
But we do a lot of, background, and we watch a lot of content, and we feel very strongly about Monsta X as a group.
We do.
So, why did he leave the company and the group? It's a mixture. It's a mixture of drug scandals, a debt scandal, and what I'm calling his teenage dirtbag days. So to give a little context,
I keep replaying the TikTok because I'm just a teenager. Like but not the song, just the TikTok sound. Like the version with like the pictures and the side by side. That's what I'm playing. Sorry.
So for context again, it's 2019. The K-pop world is burning. In 2019, just to recap real quick, there's a Burning Sun scandal, BI drug allegations, and now it was Monsta X time, specifically Wonho's time. So in October 29, 2019, rumors started swirling that Wonho owed an old roommate, Jung Down, money. Wonho and Down worked in a show called Ulsang Shide prior to Wonho's debut with Monsta X. Han So-hee, remember her, added fuel to the fire by commenting on Down's post. Okay, so wait, let's back up a little bit. So the rumor starts swirling that Wonho owes his old roommate money because she posted on her Instagram a picture of Wonho in a TV show saying, "When are you going to pay me my back money?" So So-hee, who is her alleged girlfriend, added fire to it by commenting on her post saying, "Give Down her 30 million won back," which is about 30,000-ish dollars.
I think that the exact amount that they've been saying is 27,000.
Yes. So the next day, October 30, Starship comes out and they're like, "This is all false, not true." Then exact next day, Starship announces that Wonho is leaving Monsta X, even though the day before they had said that all of this was false. Wonho pens a letter to fans apologizing for not measuring up to their expectations of him and apologizing for the stupid decisions he might have made when he was younger. On November 1st, Dispatch released a report about Wonho's alleged drug use in 2013 with Down and a man named Joe. That's not his real name. Joe was a manager at the club Burning Sun and a friend of Down. Joe, at this point in 2019, is being detained for drug use because Joe's and Down's witness accounts were pretty similar. The police thought that they were credible enough, and so they detained Wonho at the airport when he was arriving from Germany after a Monsta X show. This was in September. At that moment, police didn't really say what was going on. They just said they were looking into some things. Aside from Dispatch's report on Wonho's alleged drug use, they also came up with his criminal past. In 2008, Wonho was charged with special larceny and he got probation. Context again, in 2008, Wonho was 15 years old. So in March 2020, Wonho is cleared of all drug charges and Starship releases a statement about it. Please keep in mind that in March 2020, Wonho is not a Starship artist, but yet they release a statement saying, yeah, he was cleared of all the charges. Sus, in my opinion. In September 2020, Wonho makes his solo debut with Highlight Entertainment. Who is Highlight Entertainment? A subsidiary of Starship Entertainment.
That explains everything to me, to be honest with you.
Yes, it does, but also it pisses me the fuck off. Because why? A day after all of this is going on, or his debt, his drug use, or alleged drug use, whatever comes up, they decide to completely cut him off from Monsta X and terminate his contract.
Well, because remember the rumors, and again, so we have read into this, like looked into this stuff. A lot of these things happen on like Stan Twitter, and it's really hard to kind of get a hold of those like posts and stuff. But it wasn't Starship that canned him. It was he didn't want to hurt the group, so he would not accept staying.
But that's what Starship said. So like when I was doing the research, the first statement was from Starship saying that Wonho had come to them and said, hey, I don't want to hurt the group. I want out.
Right.
And then we get the letter from Wonho to his fans saying, I'm sorry, and I'm leaving Monsta X on my own volition. But to me, it's just sus. Like, I think they did it only because of all of the issues that were going on in the K-pop world at that time, instead of trying to actually protect him. Or
I mean, by this point, Shonu had actually also had a scandal with the married woman.
No, it all came out of because of this. So
but they knew it had happened already.
Right. But it wasn't like Shonu's thing happened and then Wonho's thing. No, like Sohee was involved in all of this, and she, while trying to like shit on Wonho, brought up that it wasn't just him, but Shonu had also had this like alleged affair.
What I'm trying to say is like they knew, probably because of like Wonho knew how much shit Sohee knew and how much she was willing to talk. So
okay, that makes sense.
He's like, I don't want to risk her saying more shit. Like I'll just bye. Like I don't want to hurt the guys. Like no, we've worked too hard. That kind of thing. That's what I'm saying. It does make sense to me that he left and that Starship. Because again, why would they keep him under Highline? Like it doesn't make any sense. If they truly were like, we're done with you, bye. Like, because that's what happens with literally everyone else. Like you never.
That's true.
The agency does not take care of them or a subsidiary ever. Like
that's a really good point that I hadn't thought about, mainly because I don't like Starship.
We don't defend them often in this channel, and I'm not defending
but you're right.
still.
No, but that makes a lot of sense. And just for those of you that don't know, during this whole process, netizens will be netizens, Han So-hee will be Han So-hee. And so Shonu's past relationship was brought to light. She released messages from an ex-girlfriend's husband saying that Shonu was having an affair with his wife. Starship came out and said Shonu didn't know this woman had gotten married. She didn't tell him she had gotten married, so he had no idea that she was married. But as soon as he found out, he like broke it off pretty much. Which to me makes sense because of Shonu, but
also, by the way, in case anyone is listening and doesn't know, this Han So-hee is not the actress Han So-hee. It's important to note because maybe somebody might get scared thinking that their favorite actress is the worst and trying to expose every idol. No, their names are spelled slightly differently. This So-hee is SEO and So-hee is SO-hee. So nothing to worry about with the Han So-hee.
And the reason why Wonho's situation pisses me off is because apart from bringing up his past as a 15-year-old, netizens will be netizens, and they rehashed or brought to light some of his past doings as a teenager too. So they debuted in 2015, and in that same year, netizens who dig up everything brought up Wonho's past as a smoking, drinking, clubbing teenager. I mean, he was loved after 2015, so I'm guessing either people didn't care, people moved on. They said teenagers will be teenagers, and as long as they rehabilitate themselves or become better people, why should we measure them for what they did when they were 17 or 16? But for some reason, they decided to bring it back in 2019 because why not, right? They're already being ran through the mud. Why
The
not just...
pylons are so unjustified, unnecessary, everything. It's just nasty the way
It
that they
is.
try to come for people and destroy their lives. And even though we weren't around again as Monbebe at the time, we have done a lot of reading. And it does seem like there's a lot of Monbebes that feel very strongly that Monsta X was basically targeted to be taken down. Like, you know, they definitely had potential to keep rising. And all these scandals kind of happening back to back to literally destroy their reputation was very targeted to
Yeah.
make sure that they would never be able to recover. And it's unfortunate. I think it was effective because I just seeing the level of success that other groups have that debuted around the same time or way after them, it's just very obvious to me that the smear campaign unfortunately worked. And they do have a very strong fan base in Monbebe, but a lot of fans did leave, and it just doesn't seem like their plane takes off with the level of like effort that they have put into it. So
Yeah.
that's very heartbreaking to me personally.
It's the same case as with BI. If people change for the better, why vilify them for something they did when they were young, when they were children? Like I'm not saying his larceny conviction wasn't a big deal. I don't know exactly what he did. I tried looking it up, but they don't specifically say what he did, just that he got probation and his friend, the leader of the group, actually got sent to what would be the equivalent of juvie. But again, he was 15 years old and he didn't do it again.
Yeah.
So it just feels like it's irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
In March of 2020, Wonho sat down with Dispatch, the same media outlet who threw him under the bus, do an exclusive interview and talk about literally everything. And in this interview, basically he said, I didn't do drugs, and once the police corroborate this, I want to release the story that I'm about to tell you. Pretty much, to summarize it, he didn't live in the best conditions as a child and as a teenager. He was bullied when he was little. His family situation was really hard, and he was poor. And so when he was a teenager, he made friends with someone that was a little bit older than him. And once he made friends with this person, he says that he realized the bullying had stopped. So he basically used this friend and this group of people as refuge. And it just so happened that they were not good kids. So by association, he also got involved in a lot of things that he shouldn't be doing.
Which,
so,
like, just like for a pause, who can't relate to this?
Right.
Like, he really does break down and cry whenever he talks about his childhood, his mom, like raising him. There's a lot of pain in his life. And who could judge a kid for like not wanting to be bullied and for having found a circle that he trusts and then just falling into bad habits or activities or acts
peer
or whatever
pressure.
just because of peer pressure. So it's just...
In the same interview, he says, I'm not trying to blame them being his friends. It was my choice. I know, like he says, I know my story is making it sound like an excuse, but it's not. I just wasn't mature.
Right.
But it's my fault. It's my mistake. And I'm sorry for that. Which, like, bro,
how much more accountability could you possibly want?
So then he met this down person, and that was kind of like a spark of hope in a sense, because by this time he was already kind of like diving into the possibility of making a career in entertainment. And based on everything that I've seen, that was kind of his way out into a better life. He became a trainee and then became part of Monsta X and was able to better his situation through that. So to me, looking at his past, it really doesn't seem like he would do anything. Oh, and this really goes back to what you were saying, that you do think it was him that said, hey, I want to leave before I hurt anybody else. Because to me, it would seem like he put so much effort that he wouldn't do anything to hurt his path into being able to live a better life.
Yeah.
So,
and he knows the way that society holds idols to such an unattainable standard that he knew people were not going to forgive him. Like a lot of people would never forgive him. So he didn't want that to tarnish the group. So I do think that's what happened. Again, Starship would not have put him in Highline if they really wanted to do away with him. Because I thought at some point, I was like trying to think of why. Because you know how trainees owe the company monies and they pay back for years. I'm like, maybe they're just trying to get his money back. But, and again, him rehearsing in the Starship room with like the logo covered, girl, like he's really around with all the members. He's still friends with everyone. He's still personal training all of them. There's no way that the company would allow all of this if they truly were like, bye, you hurt us. Like, no.
If he was like, but that's also fucking annoying, because just because YG didn't do the same for BI does not mean that he's a bad person. Right. Just to like reiterate that. But
right. Well, no, because it just shows with YG, again, every decision was made to secure the bag and to protect the bag. It wasn't done to protect BI.
For BI, right.
In this instance, Starship was not like trying to get rid of him. Right. Like they were just like, okay, fine, you know, leave the group, but like we'll help you or what. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there behind closed doors, but
so to us, just to kind of conclude Wonho's part in our episode, to us it's crazy that the members of Monsta X cannot explicitly say anything about Wonho and his history with them as a member and as friends, which they still are, without being criticized.
Yeah, like we really have to sit here and pretend like when they went to that wedding, everybody was there. It's like okay, in what delusional planet do these people that actually hold them to this live, where they believe that they were at the same wedding and they work in the same building and they rehearse in the same rehearsal room and they don't talk to each other? Like, in what fucking world?
I will never understand people that think this way. It makes me think that they have this horrible black hole instead of a heart that doesn't let them think or feel human emotions, because it just doesn't make sense to me.
You're gonna be extra pissed with the next story then, because
oh geez.
This segue is carrying us into Soojin from I-DLE. So we've been talking about idols who have gone through scandals. The past two stories have dealt with criminal cases. In this instance, I think there's a little bit of additional aggravation just because there was no crime here. There was no conviction. There was nothing that really involved a serious accusation with like a definitive yes, guilty. And this person still was taken out of the group. So Soojin from I-DLE, she actually was part of 14 idols that were accused in February of 2021. Well, idols and actors. It was 11 idols and 3 actors. And the idols included Hyunjin from Stray Kids, Kihyun from Monsta X, Mingyu from 17, Sonu from The Boys, Chu from Luna, Aisha from Everglow, Song from iKON, Soyeon from I-DLE. She also got accused during that scandal. Hyuna, and then 3 actors. Everybody was come for in this bullying thing. Like
at this point,
Laura and I were in the K-pop world, so we very vividly remember, and we covered this a little bit in our Cube scandal episode because we wanted to talk about just how much Cube sucks. I will never stop saying that. It's not alleged, it's my truth. And so this is just a little bit more of an in-depth dive into Soojin's case. So in 2021, again, these 14 idols are accused, or 14 idols and actors are accused. And basically, the alleged victim's older sister, identified as A, claimed that her younger sister fell victim to Soojin's bullying. She claimed that Soojin would call her sibling and her sibling's friend to the bathroom and make them slap each other, and would send group texts that her sibling is a loner or an outcast. They were claims that Soojin stole other students' school uniforms, that she went around with older guys in motorcycles while drinking and smoking. And then the older sister also claimed that Soojin bullied, quote unquote, Miss So, which everyone immediately speculated that it was about actress Soojin. So
wait a second. This was bullying that happened when she was like in high school, middle school?
Like middle school. Again, the sister claimed that she bullied actress Soojin, basically. And she said that every day on the way to school, you scream behind her. You'd say things like, hey, you little bitch, and you bangdong, which was a nickname that was attributed to Soojin because she was a child actress. And the kids that were like mean between 6th grade and 8th grade basically were just calling her like a failure as a child actress and whatever. And person A is claiming that Soojin was very active in this campaign. Okay. So on February 21st, Soojin, when people already like kind of thought that it might have been about her because the nickname was very attributed to her, and she spoke about being bullied in an interview during her middle school days. So everybody already knew that it was about her. But then she posted a story where which was really funny because she posted it in English and it's not correct English. And then like all of Soojin's fans came for her and they're like, you're a Korean and your only language is Korean, so why are you speaking in English? But her story just said, none of your excuse. That's all it said. None of your excuse. It was very cryptic. It wasn't correct. It's just meaning at this point, Soojin had already kind of started addressing things. She's like, whatever you say, like excuses. You're full of shit. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got you.
So the same day, Cube Entertainment denied the claims. Again, this is Soojin's label, the label of I-DLE. So they said that they were going to be monitoring the false rumors, taking appropriate legal action. Then Soojin made like her personal statement admitting to having had negative rumors follow her around in school, but she denied all allegations of bullying. So at this point, there's going to be a lot of hearsay because everything that is alleged about Soojin, she actually countered in like a lengthy ass statement that she posted to YouTube, I think is called, the platform that they used for communicating with fans. So all of the things that, and I don't want to go into too much detail because there's entirely too much information. Like it's really too much, but I'll talk and try to cover a little bit of the surface level. So the first victim that came forward accusing Soojin offered allegedly to meet with her. But this girl allegedly did not want to meet with her. So Soojin sent a representative of her instead to meet on the 25th with this girl. The girl later, or her sister, claimed that Soojin didn't want to meet with them. And it's like Soojin said, bitch, you said in the DMs that you don't want to see me and you were uncomfortable around me. So I sent a representative to talk things through. Allegedly, all the victim wanted was a sincere apology from Soojin. Allegedly. But clearly not, because this was like a very intense smear campaign. On the 26th, a different netizen came forward who was allegedly a close classmate of Soojin and actually like debunked most of the accusations that were made about her, saying that she wasn't even in the same like class or floor as Soojin, so she couldn't have been like talking to her, and that if anything, like she even received some bullying, like Soojin herself was bullied. So this person came forward to defend her, but it didn't really go anywhere. And then on March 19th, Soojin posted a lengthy, again, the one that I mentioned earlier, lengthy. Like I cannot convey enough. And I'm someone who writes a lot and very lengthy. So for me to be calling this lengthy, you can only imagine.
It was lengthy.
It was point by point. She addressed every single claim that was made about her. So in the episode about Cube, we talked about how she fucked up someone's fur jacket. But when reading into this a little bit more in depth and reading her letter, it was a padded jacket that she allegedly like scribbled on. But the person that she scribbled the jacket on or whatever sold it 10 years later while Soojin was an idol, and then allegedly had no pictures of it. And also she goes into a lot of detail about all of this. She's like, how the fuck are you going to sell a jacket that you're calling defective because I ruined it for you, but you sold it 10 years later and you don't have pictures of it, but you had to have had pictures of it to sell it. And especially when it's something that's defective, you would have had to take pictures of like up close of the defectiveness to even post it on a site to sell it. Make it make sense, right?
So wait, they sold the jacket because Soojin had like signed it?
No, not signed it. She fucked it up in
it.
middle school, and I guess when Soojin became famous and blew up, they sold the jacket to be like, Soojin like fucked up this jacket or whatever. Like that's what they were claiming, right? So, but again, Soojin is literally outlining this, and she's like, let me tell you why the math is not mathing on these people's accusations. And she was like, she said it in the very Korean way of, it should be difficult to believe that I really fucked up this person's jacket, because let me tell you what really happened. So she went point by point. I think she did like 10 or 12 points of like all the claims. And I'm going to read you just two of them that are, or like, I'm going to read you the point about Soshine, and I'm going to read you her conclusion so that you can like know everything that she said for like with the most important stuff.
I have never heard of an idol going point by point.
This with sub bullets under the points of like the 10 points plus a conclusion. Like this girl went in. Soojin said, not me, not today. You chose the wrong one, she said fully. So regarding the Soshine situation, she said, just as my first statement mentioned, I have never conversed with actress Soshine during my school days. Before this whole thing, I didn't even know which class she was in. I never put cigarettes on her desk or stole her graduation letters. Again, this is like the netizen that had come forward defending her before also covered like more of this. I'm not going to get into all the accusations because she kind of mentions them point by point here. In fact, this is the first time I heard about such rumors. That goes to show how little I knew about the schoolmate Soshine. I have never bullied her or cursed her out. Every time I release a statement, so actress Soshine also posted something, making a lot of people believe that I have bullied her. My agency tried contacting hers, but there has been no response. I have nothing to hide, so I hereby request actress Soshine to make herself clear with an official statement on this issue. Because at this point, Soshine has just been throwing shade, but like it's not clear what the tea is. So Soojin's like, what did I do?
Yeah, like come at me.
Right. And then the closing of Soojin's 10-point bulleted addressing of the claims close with, at the time I shared my first statement, I was already branded a bully due to a particular actress's post. As I rushed to release a statement, it came without careful construction, and it eventually caused even more misunderstanding. Hence, I thought my next statement, I will need to be more thoughtful. Please note, however, I did not lie in my first statement. I knew that admitting to having smoked as a minor would be a huge blow to my career as a female idol. However, in order to be honest with everyone, I put everything on the line to admit that. I have smoked a few times out of curiosity, and I'm aware of how big of a mistake that is. I admit that I deserve the criticism about this, and I am really sorry. I have proceeded with lawsuits against all the rumors and lies, and they will be dealt with by law. If the law decides there's any wrongdoing on my part, I will withdraw from the team and accept all penalties. That is a given, but I will continue to fight to reveal the truth about the things I did not do. Once again, I deeply apologize for having caused so much trouble. I will remain honest until this is all resolved. So she, again, is coming through with a 10-page dossier here of like everything that has been said about her or against her and addressing each of the points. A lot of it was her saying like, I don't personally remember that happening, but if it did, like, here's what I think the context was. So for example, the call where the older sister overheard her screaming at her, she said that like the girl basically told her they were going to meet somewhere at a certain time. and then called her like last minute and was like, hey, I'm not going to come anymore. And it wasn't the first time that this bitch was flaky. So Soojin was like, what the fuck? You keep doing this to me, and like went off on her. So it seems like it was like a warranted response kind of thing. And then her older sister hears her being screamed at and cursed at. But apparently then the older sister took the phone and screamed and cursed at Soojin. And Soojin's like, this woman was a full adult, like scolding me and yelling at me and cursing at me. But that's conveniently left out of all the conversations. So Soojin really, again, went out of her way to explain the different side of things, or like her version of things, at least.
That conclusion is so straightforward.
Very straightforward, very honest.
Shook.
Flabbergasted.
I am shook.
Floored. I know. I read it and I was like, damn, I've never seen something like this from an idol ever. Like it wasn't flowery language. It wasn't saying this or that. It wasn't saying, I'm going to show you a different side of myself, more mature after this scandal. So it was really addressing the issue head on, which is very unlikely and uncharacteristic of idol culture.
But so admirable.
Extremely. I stan.
Me too.
I know.
Again, I know that there is a really big bullying problem, not just in South Korea, but all over the world.
Of course.
I know that bullying can have long-lasting effects on people's minds, on people's emotions. I know this, and I'm not trying to diminish it, but sometimes things are taken out of context or blown out of proportion.
Yes. And
people are dragged through the mud for something that really wasn't bullying.
No, fully. And not just that word. I feel like words in general have been used and abused. Some people like go on TikTok and they're like gaslighting and predator and grooming and whatever. And then people start throwing these words around. They start losing meaning. And then everything is those things. And then it's like, well, was it actually bullying, or was it just an argument between two middle school girls who were talking shit or whatever? And I do think that the whole bullying thing obviously needs to be looked at carefully. And if the kid is truly suffering, they should 100% be helped, and the bully should 100% be held accountable. But again, I do think these school violence and bullying accusations are being thrown around to harm people, because the fact that 14 people were accused in February, all of these things, it's kind of like, well, there's a movement, there's a whole thing. And so many in Korea specifically of the bullying accusations, not just from this batch, but in general that comes out, the agency or if someone reaches out to the person and then they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I blew this out of proportion, or my bad, I just wanted some attention. Like they really post these things for the most part for attention, for the clout. And then the person that they accuse ends up tarnished their reputation with whatever was said about them, whether or not it's true.
And then for the people that have actually gone through bullying, it creates a problem, because then maybe they're not going to be believed.
Yeah, exactly.
They actually did go through really traumatic experiences.
And there's that conversation is happening about this Soojin and Soojin conversation. I'll cover it at the end of what I'm about to say. So because Soojin said, Soojin, talk your shit, what the fuck did I do to you? Soojin actually posted a statement to her IG, also very long. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but I'm going to read you the parts that are relevant to Soojin. So she said, the person who has brought up my name would constantly do nasty things, criticize me, make personal attacks, and laugh at me almost every day with her group of friends, whether I was on my way to school, in the hallways during break, or in the cafeteria. They would say things such as, she's not even that pretty. How can she be a celebrity? Whatever. She's just a washed up celebrity. She's just an outcast. And what do the teachers even like about her? Why does she get special treatment? That was one paragraph. And then towards the end, she says she doesn't remember and that she never talked to me. And that's right. It was always a one-sided affair with her insults. It is regretful that she came to the conclusion that the contemptuous remarks and actions she made within her group weren't true. And I don't know what evidence or witnesses she has, but I want to ask whether her selective memories are genuine enough to explain everything I'm mentioning. So again, he said, she said, and like as a child actor, like there's going to be attention put on you, and some kids are going to be making fun of you, of course, but like I have a hard time when I know kids that get actually beat up, that get money stolen from them and all these things, like she never addressed you. She never talked to you. And I'm not diminishing, because she did mention in her statement, like this left her with a bunch of mental scars that she has to this day and all these things. So I'm not trying to say that her version of events isn't true. I'm trying to say, like, is this actual bullying? Are we going to get to the point where we consider this a serious bullying allegation? Because aside from all of this, at some point, Soojin did end up in one of those like committees in middle school where they like determine whether or not she was guilty of something. That's another thing that she addressed during her write-up. And she was like, they called me in because someone else had done something wrong, and they basically were trying to make me cover for it. And my mom came out of the room crying and whatever, and all these things. For all of that to be, I came out that she was innocent. So she wasn't even involved in that. So it seems like a bunch of people were trying to pin her as this bully. And I don't know, was she?
It also feels like, from what you read about Shanae's comments, something that jumped out was, did she ever mention her by name? Soojin?
She said the person who has brought up my name.
Person. Okay. So that to me also, if you're putting such hard allegations against someone and you know you're right, why are you scared of saying the name?
Right. Yeah. She mentioned at the beginning of the statement, not necessarily to address your question, but just another point, that she didn't speak up at the time because she was scared, and now she was being brave and speaking about it because it was important. And at the end of her statement, she closed with, anyone else who's being bullied right now, you know, be strong, talk to someone, reach out, and don't suffer alone, kind of thing.
I mean, it just also feels that as a child actor, she had her own set of stresses and dealings that she had to feel, and like emotions that she had to feel at an age where she might not have had the emotional,
for sure,
maturity to deal with.
Yeah.
So maybe a lot of the things that she felt were mainly in her head. Like, again, I'm not trying to say whatever she felt is not true, but sometimes when we have issues from other places or other things that spill into other aspects of our lives, they kind of become bigger things just because of whatever we're dealing in that other thing. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining myself.
No, and it's true. Like, imagine being in a drama when you're little and going to school and you think that you might be the popular girl, and then people are like, why is she even a celebrity? Like, she's not even pretty. So it's like, not only did you not get the praise that you thought you were gonna get, but you got like negative feedback on top of it. So who knows? Again, I don't want to come off as dismissive of her, because if she struggled when she was little, I feel for her. But the pile on again is really what's I'm struggling with here, because if she hadn't come forward, I think things might have turned out differently with Soojin. And you know, what if she had reached out and been like, hey, just wanted to let you know that you were also a bitch, and I, like, my literal nemesis when I was little, and I'm not gonna expose your ass right now, but I do hope that all of this coming out right now makes you rethink shit or something like that. I don't know. But the whole, like, what is it? No more excuse or whatever. No good, your excuse. Whatever the fuck she said. It's just, again, like you're saying, if you feel confident about what you're going to say, then say it with your whole chest. Whatever. Don't like hide behind shade or whatever. Anyway, this was all again February, March. 5 months later, on August 14th, Cube announced that Soojin had officially withdrawn from the group based on the accusations.
5 months?
And that I-DLE would continue promoting as 5 members. Just a few hours later, a fan opened a petition called Justice for Soojin, which gathered 160,000 signatures in just 3 days. At the time of today's recording, I checked the petition. First of all, it's still up, and it's at 204,933 signatures. So people are still signing this shit. And it's been 2.5 years. The same day that the petition went up, a post that I saw on Korea Boo, so I'm not sure how reliable this is. And again, allegations, take this with a grain of salt. This is just something someone said. It came from this account or these people that I've seen kind of, it's kind of like a TMZ vibe, like not like dispatch,
okay.
but like the people that have the tea. And it's
Okay,
not
okay.
corroborated anywhere or whatever, but it does appear to be true quite a bit. They're called Sports Pyongyang. So I've seen this on Twitter a lot.
Yes.
So according to an exclusive report for them, Cube Entertainment had already decided that Soojin would be leaving I-DLE at the time of her school bullying controversy broke out. And even though they waited until August to make the decision or to like announce it, they had already basically decided it before in like February or March. Like, I don't know why they waited. The report didn't mention why, but I thought that was kind of curious when I was doing the research that somebody took the time to report on this and to say that. It was very sus. And then the very next day after Soojin was ousted, Soojin's YouTube channel got terrorized, quote unquote, with comments from Soojin's fans. Like her Instagram had already been bombarded, but then she posted a vlog on her YouTube channel. And it was, you can just imagine the angry fans, like just with the vomit emojis and the works. So even though Soojin had left the group, or I guess Cube announced that she had left the group in August, they didn't actually announce that she had left the company until March 4th of the following year. So from August until March of the following year, that's when they finally announced that Cube had actually terminated the contract with Soojin. They said, "This is Cube Entertainment. We would like to inform you that our exclusive contract with artist Soojin will be terminated. Regarding the controversy that arose in February 2021, the company and Soojin worked with the police to investigate the case, and the investigation determined that the individuals who made the comments were found not guilty of spreading false information. We respect the results of the police investigation, and we apologize for causing concern to many people. Thank you." So again, as I mentioned when I introduced this story, there were a lot of accusations. And so, as Soojin mentioned in her own letter, she pursued lawsuits against the people who had accused her. And then on September 8th, Soojin's legal counsel announced that they were dropping the lawsuit following the counsel of the police. They said that the police decided not to process the lawsuit for the reason that the post, like the Instagram posts and all these things that were basically being examined, could be the truth from the point of view of the exposer. And hence, it would not have been intended to spread falsehoods. There is no other evidence to prove the facts apart from the conflicting statements of those involved. So again, because of hearsay, because of lack of evidence, because of whatever the fuck, the police was like, well, I can't really blame this girl for saying that she felt scarred from this conversation. And because her sister heard her being screamed at, then, you know, that might have been her version of events. So we can't really like say that someone's guilty here, which is, I guess, understandable to an extent.
Yeah.
They didn't make a ruling, but how did that translate to, okay, then let's really drop her and she's guilty? And because if it couldn't be proven that they had spread like rumors, but it also couldn't be proven that she did what she said she did, you're still siding with the people. So it's aggravating, it's frustrating, it's kind of, you know, hard to understand. And that was what it was. So 2022, Soojin fell off the face of the earth for the most part. 2023 comes around. Her birthday is in March, and fans are still flying their Soojin flag and celebrating her. And so they hosted an event at a cafe for her. And allegedly, she sent them handmade soaps via an acquaintance. And that was like the first time that she appeared to be alive, and basically like sending her fans a little sign of like, I'm still here and thank you for still believing in me and being there for me, right? So that was in March. On June 30th, she started her Instagram account. On October 16th, she signed with a company called BRD Communications. And on November 8th, she had her solo debut with Agashi. So I wanted to talk about the consequence because, again, Laura talked about throughout the first stories of like, can someone grow? Can someone be allowed to learn? Like, can someone be, I guess, rehabilitated into society and allowed to be who they are and like have their careers and whatever? In the case of Soojin, it appears that the answer is yes. Her music video reached 10 million views on YouTube already within like 2 weeks, which is not easy for a solo act, and especially for someone who had really big allegations
in a small company.
It's a difficult challenge. The Studio Tune performance has 2.4 million views. So again, like, her fans are definitely supporting. Her debut album surpassed 50,000 sales on Hanto in 2 days. Allegedly, the Chinese fandom by themselves amassed 32,000 albums, so good on them. And then it reached the whole chart 67,000 sales by day 3. This is huge, and I will be able to prove to you just how big this is with the next idol that we're going to talk about next. But again, this is a really big deal. This amount of sales for someone who had a scandal and was fully canceled, shunned from the company, and investigated by the police in Korea, huge deal.
And that, again, doesn't necessarily mean that because the company drops you,
right,
you're
a bad person, or you should
be
excommunicated from society.
I haven't read. Kathy did all of the research for Soojin, so I'm literally finding out these things along with you guys.
Right.
But to me, I find it so ballsy and so like such a power move that she decided to take the bull by the horns, write this 50-page essay on her side of things and say, here's my truth. Like, I am naming names.
Yeah.
And I am here saying, if I'm found guilty, I will do what's right.
Correct.
So she wasn't skirting away from trying to not pay for whatever sins people think she committed.
Right.
But she was fully taking accountability. And from the little that we've seen on K-pop culture or like South Korean culture, taking accountability and saying, I am sorry, or just showing that you have grown and that you're willing to show that, you know, what you did was regrettable or whatever, is such a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
But apparently not. Like, why is it that everyone's just picking? Like, I know it's because human nature, but like, make the math make sense.
I don't know, but again, her success with this drop has been talked about widely. There was a whole article about Korean netizens react to former idol Soojin's shocking chart performance. Because again, I mentioned the numbers. I know for people who consume bigger bands, 10 million in a week or in a couple of weeks might not seem like a big deal, but it is.
It's a big deal.
So a lot of the comments express, surprise that she is receiving such strong public support and chart success despite the accusations against her. Other people felt like the high position indicated that she does have a very strong fan base, which obviously is true. And other netizens were frustrated with the success of her chart. So even when someone famous comes forward and says, this person bullied me, that's still not enough to get someone canceled. Like, that's the thing. The ultimate goal is not rehabilitation. It's not growth. It's not improvement. I don't want you on my TV anymore. I don't want you to have any success or happiness in the life. And you allegedly hurt this other person. So now in my eyes, you're canceled and you can't exist. Yeah.
Like, I understand canceling people. And I do believe some people deserve to be canceled wholeheartedly. But life is not black and white.
It's really not.
Every case is different, and every case has subtleties and intricacies that you cannot solve by just looking at one side. If life was black and white, it'd be so much easier, but it's not.
Right. And we don't know, for example, if Soojin had like a hard childhood, and if like anger or whatever, lashing out, was part of her coping. Like, the things that she admitted to in the end were lack of maturity and like not controlling her emotions. And we can't really like fault someone for that, especially
Right.
at a young age in middle school when like the hormones are raging, you're starting to become like an adult. Again, she allegedly screamed at a friend and allegedly like rode motorcycles with older men. Like the motorcycle thing still sends me, I swear to God. And the whole thing with the jacket, like if the person ended up selling the jacket to try to like get money off of the clout of Soojin, like you're really going to accuse her and talk about how she
This
did
bad
this,
thing. Yeah.
defaced your property. Like, come on.
It just doesn't make sense. And all these three cases are frustrating to me
Yeah.
in extremely different way.
Yeah. Again, the comments and the netizens, like the one comment that I saw that I was like made me furrow my brow was like, wow, she's coming out even though her victim is a celebrity. This is why civilian victims can't stand up for themselves. Like using the word victim here is just so strong. Again, the use of words is just things are thrown around. Like again, I'm not if Shanae truly suffered and truly is still reeling, I'm not trying to discount her story. I am trying to measure the actual like effect and the repercussions. Like
Perspective.
Shanae has a successful career and she has been able to move on and have a life and stuff. So she
Right.
heard things that were allegedly said about her. And so victim?
Oh, man, I just think about middle school and like
Weren't all of us little assholes? Like, I mean, except a few of us, like, you know?
I definitely was.
I mean,
I've definitely have had to as an older person, young adult, gone up to people in my life and said, "Hey, it was a little shit. I'm so sorry for causing you so much pain because I was a little shit and I said a lot of mean things to a lot of people." If I were to be like it
the
just
expose on Lauda from Dispatch, the bullying,
myself,
school violence from Lauda.
it wasn't it like I just thinking about like how as an adult that would have repercussions on my
Job.
job right now. Like, no, I'm sorry, we can't have you as an employee because when you were 7 you kicked your cousin in a corner. Like, you get what I mean? Like,
It's wild. It's wild. It's absolutely
like
wild.
I was a little shit, but luckily I grew up, I learned, and now I would never do that. Like, you got what I
I
mean?
used to beat up like in 4th grade with my lunchbox the boys because I thought I was a tomboy and I thought I was like a tough bitch and I thought that was like the way to get the guy that I liked to like me back, like the guy that
Right.
had the crush on. That was like my way of expressing that I liked him because that's what we all hear. Oh, if he like if he hits you, he likes you. So I was like, okay, bet I'll hit back.
And maybe in his perspective, you were a terrible bully.
Maybe.
But in your head, you were like
In my head, I was fully
flirting.
flirting. I was flirting. I was fully in my flirty era. Like I
Like,
was trying to let him know that I liked him in a like a cute way that his friends could accept me as one of the people in the crew.
yeah. And like, I know I'm laughing about my own personal experience, but
Yeah.
I've grown up and I realized I was a terrible little kid. Like, sorry, they don't have to forgive me, but at least I can say, hey, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, like, just thinking about that and how that would have repercussions on my today life as a 32-year-old is fucking insane.
And for your job where like you do the thing that you need to do from 9 to 5
Yeah.
and then you go home. Like
And
it's
I'm not a little shit. Like, it's crazy to me.
clearly from like the love that the fans had and still have for her. She impacted a lot of people's lives positively. And so whatever, to conclude, I guess, the police said, sorry, can't help you. Everything is hearsay. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's things that happened in school cafeterias. And
Right.
nothing good comes from a school cafeteria.
Not
Unless it
even the
happened in some
food.
like movie, bro. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Not even the food.
The food.
So I guess happy for Soojin's success. Hope that she is at peace. I hope Soojin is also at peace and is not disturbed, or seeing Soojin doing well doesn't make any negative impact. But that's that on that. And again, I covered Soojin's current success extensively to show you with the next case just how big her numbers truly are. So we said we were going to talk about Rocky from Astro as like a bonus, because we're not going to go into that much detail. He doesn't have a scandal. He wasn't kicked out of his group. When the contract was up, he said, I'm out. He was at Fantagio for 14 years, which is a hell of a fucking long time, especially when he's not even 30 years old. Like, the ridiculousness of how young these idols start out in the training.
He's young.
14 years. 14 years.
Now I gotta do the math, because he's like, he's a baby.
He's a tiny little baby. 99, guys. 99 liners. We had our episode on the 99 liners. Yeah. We had our episode on the 99 liners last week, which we hope you all enjoyed. And sorry this was not as unhinged. We had to talk about serious things today. Yeah. We had a lot of fun with that one. But anyway, Rocky, my 99 liner, my Astro bias, still to this day, OT6, come at me. Anyway, he did not have a scandal, did not have any criminal charges, nothing. He just said, I'm done with Fantagio. I'm out. Bye. 2 days after their 7th anniversary picture was posted, which, by the way, has now been deleted. Fucking kill me. And so he left the group and the company in February. His only like minor scandal was that in October of last year, he like, the agency confirmed that he was dating an actress named Park Boyon, but then her agency denied the rumor that had been confirmed by Rocky's
blushed.
Like, the embarrassment and the cringe that Laura and I went through that day. We lived it, because when his agency confirmed that the rumor was true, we were both like, oh my God, wow, idols like openly dating. And then her agency comes on and is like, nah. Like,
I just got chicken pimples. Like, I remember this.
It was terrible. So that was his only minor, tiny little scandal that nobody even cared about, because Rocky is not one of the popular members in Astro, and that's just the pain of living in 2023 as a Rocky bias. Like, it is what it is. So again, on February 28th, the agency confirmed that Rocky decided not to renew his contract and left the band. He said, I want to apologize for not bringing good news to everyone. I wanted Arojas to be the first to hear this news, so I'm writing. I'm leaving after, again, more than 14 years. That the time promoting with the group was very precious. My members who have been with me during those times, and especially Arojas, my biggest strength. Thank you all sincerely. No matter where I am, I will not forget the memories I made with the members and Arojas, and cherish them carefully. Thank you for everything till now. So he leaves the group. Things are shakeneth for a little bit.
I remember we were shook.
Then, unfortunately, on April 19th, we lost Moonbin. And I'm only mentioning this briefly to talk about the fact that Rocky was actually present throughout all his funeral proceedings with the members of Astro and his family. And I thought at the time, Fantagio did a pretty good job at addressing things and kind of just letting people mourn in the way that they were mourning. And I think Rocky was very present, which is, again, most companies try to deal with these things. Like, Rocky was never even born in the first place. So at least I appreciated that, from the very hard thing that everybody at Fantagio and Astro had to deal with during all of that. So after that horrible thing passed, on October 26th for my birthday, Rocky decided to announce that he had set up his own agency called One Fine Day in August, and that he was going to be debuting in November. Now, Rocky dropped his EP on November 22nd, and he released the song Lucky Rocky. His sales for the first day was 3,600 units-ish. Day 2 was 171. Day 2 was 2,000. And then every day it just dropped. So his total sales for the first 7 days of his album was 6,444 in the charts. This is someone who's never had a scandal, who not only is an idol, but has also acted. He was in a drama that I tried to watch, but I wasn't able to really hang on. It was like a cringy web K-drama called Broke Rookie Star, where he played the least popular member in an idol group. And it was just a little bit too on the nose for me to tolerate
That's
it.
a bit too much.
But he did
for
win 3
sure.
awards from that acting in that show. And so again, he's not successful. But again, 6,000 unit sales in a week.
Compared to how many was Soojin?
50,000 in 2 days. Obviously, I-DLE is way bigger than Astro.
Right.
Again, Rocky's not one of the more popular members, but neither was Soojin. Soojin was kind of like an underrated, not the most well-liked member in I-DLE, because there's big personalities there that kind of take over. Again, it's just a very different experience. And it's just very eye-opening personally. Even though I'm a Rocky bias, I can say I did not enjoy Lucky Rocky as a song for his debut. I'm happy that he's doing whatever he wants to do. He's an incredible dancer. His performance is amazing, all of that. I do think by going out on his own, he is missing out on some guidance that could be there. But, you know, when you're not the most popular member of a group, it's really hard to fight to gain popularity. So I don't know what's going to happen with his career. I hope that he's able to make new fans and stuff, and we'll see what he comes back with after this album. But
to me, this album was, I also didn't really resonate with it, with any song really. The only thing that I resonated was with his performance. Like, I don't like the song, but it becomes okay when I see him dance to it, because I think one of his biggest strengths is his performance.
100%. He's a performer through and through, and but like the styling was really good. He looks amazing.
Yeah.
He's thriving in that sense.
So he just, maybe like you said, needed a little bit of guidance, or maybe he is doing with this album what Fantagio didn't allow him to do
That's
in
more
Astro.
where I'm feeling that he's like going towards. Yes.
Like, maybe because in Astro he was the rapper. So
yeah, but he wrote quite a bit. He wrote for other people, and currently he has written and done stuff for his baby brother's group, How. So, you know, I think he wants to prove himself as this like multi-talented one-man show, which he is. But dude, when you have like 300 songs coming out every day, you have to do a little bit more than just like your pure raw talent. Like, yeah, he did have other producers and people that he worked with, but I don't know. I think he was definitely like happily experimenting with things that he could do outside of Fantagio, but I don't know. I hope that this isn't a fatal blow to him, the low sales and the little support, because also I saw like his music video the first day, like it was struggling. It's at 15,000 views, so it's not terrible.
No, that's
but it's about to be a week.
Also, for context, guys, he's 24. He's gonna just grow more, because we all do.
Yeah, fully agree.
Everyone grows.
He has so much potential for in front of the camera, for behind the camera, as a choreographer, as a songwriter. Like, he's in the right industry for sure. And I hope that the sales and whatever numbers are enough for him, because he, again, started his own company. So the level of marketing and the investment that he can do here is not as big as if he had signed with someone else. So maybe this is good enough for him. Maybe he's like, look at what I'm doing on my own. And I hope so.
It's enough to cover whatever it cost him to do, because that would be terrible.
Yeah, it's not cheap to be an idol. So so we'll see what happens with Rocky, but I really did think it was important and interesting to contrast his example without any controversy or scandal to really take him down versus the 3 other artists who are fairly more successful. And not to take anything away from them, because I think all 3 of them deserve the success that they're having, like fully. And I think BI Wonho should be way more successful than they are, truthfully. We'll see what happens, but we hope you guys have taken some interesting facts from this conversation. Again, everything is alleged except that Cube sucks. That's not alleged. That's a fact. So does YG. And it's disgusting that he's still... Well, YG Entertainment does suck, but it's also gross that YG, the man, is still somehow involved in the company.
And I
because-
guess to finish the episode in some grossness, to really just encapsulate everything, YG got convicted of bribery. He is seeing 0 days in jail.
And it's just running the newest girl group of underage little girls that are trying to take over the world. So
That's the world in 2023.
unfortunately, with that, we hope you guys again enjoyed and got some good intel here, and support artists because they really are here only because of our support. So
Literally. Stand BI.
and Wonho and Soojin and
And
Rocky
us.
and us. Why not? Why not us? Thank you guys. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the MIA2K podcast. We have lots of great content coming up ahead, so please don't forget to follow and subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you enjoyed our episodes, please rate us 5 stars.
And for the real-time tea, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook by searching for @MIA2K Podcast. Dale, bye.